and welcome to another edition of Business Nigeria. And here are the highlights for the show today. Nigeria's crude oil and gas export rose to $33.71 billion from August 2019 to August 2020, as reviewed in the NNPC August 2020 monthly financial and operations report. France's economic activity is 12% lower than normal this month after the country entered the coronavirus lockdown for the second time this year. Well, that's the latest from the French Central Bank. Shares surged, oil prices jumped, and the US dollar remained weak today as expectations of fewer regulatory reforms and more monetary stimulus under US President-elect Joe Biden supported risk appetites. Well, on the show today, we'll stay with the outcome of the elections, that's the U.S. elections, with a view of assessing the present state of the economy and, of course, projections for post-election era, as well as look at the performance of the global markets as Joe Biden coasts to victory, becoming the 46th president-elect of the United States of America. Welcome to the show. Nigeria exported crude oil and gas worth $3.71 billion from August 2019 to August 2020. This is according to the August 2020 monthly financial and operations report released by the Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC. The NNPC states that Nigeria's total crude oil and gas export sale increased in the month of August 2020 by 64.84% to $139.5 million when compared to what was recorded in the preceding month. The figures shows that crude oil export sales contributed 57.54% of the dollar transactions. This was in contrast to the $55.29 million contribution in the previous month, while the gas export sales amounted to $59.23 million in the month under review. The total number of subscribers to global system of mobile communications has hit 204.87 million in September, growing by 15% year on year. That according to the latest report from telecom subscribers from the Nigerian Communications Commission, which shows that in 1 year, the four mobile network operators gained a total of 25.97 million new subscribers. The data showed that MTN gained the highest number of subscribers in the 1 year under review, adding 17.919 million new subscribers to its network to reach 82.64 million customers by September 2020. It was followed closely by Airtel, which added 6.34 million new customers, and Globalcom with 5.04 million subscribers in 1 year. Non-mobile was the only operator that lost subscribers in 1 year, as 2.6 million mobile network users left the network, dropping to 12.73 million mobile users. Now, despite facing challenges at the domestic level, along with the transforming global landscape, the United States economy is still the largest and most important in the world. The U.S. economy represents about 20% of the total global output and is still larger, more than that of China. Moreover, according to the International Monetary Fund, the U.S. has the 6th highest per capita GDP. The economy features a highly developed and technologically advanced services sector, which accounts for about 80% of its output and is dominated by services-oriented companies in areas such as technology, financial services, healthcare, and retail. Large U.S. corporations also play a major role on the global stage, with more than a fifth of companies on the Global 500 coming from the United States. As U.S. President-elect Joe Biden hopes to seize all momentum from his victory, decisive actions on the major crisis engulfing the nations, economists say Biden's victory will provide a boost to a U.S. economy battered by COVID-19 pandemic, as his bold spending plans and founder support for trade and immigration more than offset the drawbacks of new taxes and regulations. Well, earlier today, I had a chat with a senior economist at SPM Professionals, Mr. Paul Aladi. Now, we started the discussion by assessing the present state of the United States as the economy, even with Joe Biden. What more should we expect?
The good news is that the several global leaders have been congratulating Mr. Joe Biden because he's now the president-elect of America, even though some other very influential leaders in the world, which includes Russia, talking about Mr. Putin, has refused to congratulate Mr. Putin. So one of the things we expect will change is alliance, people, organizations and countries that have alliance with America will see some level of expansion reaction in that regard. We might also see a reduction in American economic growth in the short term, particularly as it affects trade, because Mr. Donald Trump done everything possible to reduce $500 billion gap in terms of trade deficit between America and China, and he has carefully done that to reduce it significantly. Now that Mr. Joe Biden, who is coming from Liberal Party, talking about the Democrat Party is in power, the policy approach for Democrats is a bit more flexible, unlike what Republican under Donald Trump has adopted. So I'm seeing a situation where it will be much flexible from immigration law and so on. We'll start seeing new policies, perhaps to upturn or to change or to make more flexible what the current President Donald Trump has put in place. So all of those will have both positive and negative impact. While because of COVID-19, we've seen a lot of reduction in terms of job, a lot of increase in job losses. But in the coming period, because Democrats seems to be more organized and a lot of establishments are willing to work more with Democrats. So what you may see is a vaccine eventually will come out and will be more tested, and you see America will come out with a robust plan to overcome COVID-19 as the country we used to know America to be. So you see that kind of expansion. But in terms of trade and export, I doubt if Mr. Joe Biden will have the kind of capacity Mr. Donald Trump, even though that approach a lot of persons have called is bullish, and you can see World Trade Organization have also condemned American approach. You've seen the position America took regarding the former Minister of Finance of Nigeria, talking about Ngozi Iweala, who majority of members have already supported. We might see that also change. Iweala may eventually be announced as the leader of WTO. So it's going to be good for America. But in terms of trade with China, I think America will need to do more. And the prediction that Mr. Joe Biden might not be as strong as Mr. Donald Trump when it comes to issue of trade, particularly with China, is what I think Mr. Joe Biden will need to work on. Okay. Well, it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a long one. America has lost so much in terms of GDP. It has also lost so much in terms of jobs. America has also lost so much in terms of trading partners because output has significantly reduced. American oil has also lost value because of lockdowns that is going around the world. So it's going to be very slow. But if Mr. Joe Biden will adopt the method that Mr. Obama adopted by bringing the best of America into the drawing board and the think tank of Americas to help America see how they can overcome most of their problem as quick as possible, I think that will be that America may eventually overcome. And I also hope that Mr. Joe Biden may be perceived as the continuity of Obama's administration. We also noticed that Obama participated actively during his campaign because Democrat seems to be more organized than Republican. Unlike Mr. Donald Trump, who wants to fight many battles at the same time. I think that in itself will drag the economy further and it will affect the country. And that's what we are seeing with America. It does not mean Donald Trump was a bad policymaker or a bad leader as it is, but he fought too many wars and he's still fighting too many wars at the same time. But Mr. Joe Biden, from the background, from his party, from available information and evidence, I strongly believe that in not too long a time, by 2022, last quarter, America should have come back, provided there are no other exogenous variables that could not be controlled. America should be back as the largest economy. But if this is not done, unfortunately, China started closing the gap between America and China, getting really close to America in terms of the second largest economy in the world. But if Joe Biden did not follow suit the Obama strategy, I'm sorry, America may just lose that position and China may be the largest economy. Of course, that will still happen, but it may not be during Joe Biden's tenure if the right decisions are taken.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Voted as the best TV station of the year. TVC News breaks into the core of every event as they happen. Following all nationwide big and impactful stories. We tell the news from every perspective, covering every human angle. I am Veronica, bringing you the news you would want to watch.
All right, now, Mr. Paul Ajede, we want to talk about trade policies, which are very key in business relations. I asked Mr. Ajede, what do you think should be the policy direction or focus of the administration in putting back the economy, the United States economy that has been hit by COVID-19, of course, slump in the price of crude oil?
For me, when it comes to trade, the important thing is what you are bringing to the table. Nigeria seems to have very robust, friendly foreign policy. The Nigerian foreign policy is not even targeted to the Nigerian people. It's more targeted to the outside community in terms of production. The question is, how is Nigeria rated when it comes to trade policy? What do we have to export to the rest of the world? The most important thing we've done, according to National Bureau of Statistics, 80% of our exports in 2019, Q1 to Q4, actually was around the crude oil. The global oil prices is down, no thanks to COVID-19. And what are we selling to America and China together most of the time is crude oil. Even though America has oil, what else do we have to sell to them? Because they have the refining capacity, which, as we speak, Nigeria is still very, very low in that regard. I think this is a window of opportunity for Nigeria to look at labor issues that we can have opportunity to look into. China is already supporting Nigeria in terms of rail development, and we've started to see renewal of our rail lines in recent time. And I think that we need to look at America beyond just talking about who wins election. I think what Nigeria and indeed African economy should be more concerned is how will these emergence benefit Africa. Obama was president of America. What can we point to as Africa and particularly as Nigeria in terms of benefit? President Trump came and we thought he was going to help us, particularly with the issue of insecurity. He's still there. An American was caught in the web of Boko Haram not so long ago, and we saw how America became proactive. I think these are the things Nigeria should be looking at, because when Northeast and indeed the entire Nigeria becomes more protected, you are going to attract more foreign direct investment to the country. So America being the most secure, quote and unquote, I put that in inverted comma, most secure country, or the country with the strongest military might, I think that is safer to say that, should see how to partner to support Nigeria. Nigeria would also tell what the cost will be. And I think this is what our leaders, the kind of conversation I expect our leaders to be having. While China economy continues to get robust, even in the midst of COVID-19, China has also posted positive growth. America, who of course is struggling with the economy, what you cannot take away from America is military strength. These are two key things Nigeria needs, security and economy. Unfortunately, you cannot separate them from each other. Nigeria needs the two. That is why I'm happy we are relating with the two countries carefully, and I think leaders and authorities in Nigeria should continue to do so. While we support America, whosoever be the leader, we are not electorate in that elections, but whosoever be the leader, anyone that is willing to extend his hand of relationship to Africa, particularly our country Nigeria, is the one we should go with. And I am hoping that President Buhari and his team will start considering how Nigeria could be more secure. America demonstrated it by saving the life of a citizen. We see a few persons who are currently in Boko Haram's net. Nigerians, you may want to name Dapchi Girl, talking about Leah Shoaib, or you may want to also name Chibok girls, the remaining Chibok girls, or some other persons that may still be in Boko Haram's net, or maybe even not Boko Haram, talking about banditry, those that are kidnapping the southern region, southwest, Southeast. So how do we get people without sacrificing our sovereignty to the hand of, in the hands of America, so that we don't sacrifice it? And more importantly, what we need as a developing country is what China has without collecting loans. How can we have that partnership, maybe build and transfer? Nigeria may look at all of this and see how it can benefit us from what is happening at the global scene. Okay. Exploitation. Any countries that stays with primary is already exploitative in nature. So if Nigeria remains with primary sector, I'm afraid the exploitation before independence may just continue. But if Nigeria would deliberately convert its economy, and I'm sorry, America is not going to do it for you. Whosoever becomes the president in America or becomes the leader of China will not do that for you. We must come up with national economic development plan beyond paperwork. We had that in the early days of independence, where we developed national economic development plan. But because of the coup, it could not, of course, see the light of the day. It started at the time, but we could not complete it because of the coup that happened. And another development plan was developed also in the 80s, but we could not because of military intervention in the democratic process. So, but I hope that now that we've seen our economy seems to be stabilized, we have seen different parties, we've seen handover from one party to another. President Buhari and his team could champion this with the support of National Assembly and even make a law so that whatever we've agreed we want to spend our natural resource on for development of our country is what we can achieve from this moment today.
Almost finally, now, the relationship between China and the United States is of importance to the entire world. And, of course, when issues pop up, the effect is always felt globally. I want to get the view of Mr. Laji also on this and what more should be expected. Take a listen.
When you look at complexity, it talks about how complex, how productive, in layman language, how productive economies are. When you look at complexity index, in 2018, 133 countries were ranked, were rated. Of all these 133 countries, number one being the most superior in terms of productive capacity. The country you have there is Japan. Number 11 in terms of productive capacity is America. Number 18 in terms of productive capacity is China. Which country is number one? You said Japan. Which one is the least? Unfortunately, Nigeria is that country with 133. These are not my figures. This was put together by MIT. And MIT is a research institution in America. So this is now opportunity for us to look at the strength America has to be that 11th country, and China has to be 18th country. And I hope that in the coming period, Nigeria will look beyond crude oil. And there are a lot of programs that I've shared with you on this platform. What I think we can do as a people. Look at our economy, our country, our uniqueness. We have mass land all over North Central, mass land all over Northeast, mass land all over Northwest. If you go to southern region, even where you have crude oil, they still have ability to farm, they have ability to fish. We need to connect our farm. The strategy of government, particularly Mr. President, is to support farmers. Nothing is wrong with that. But what seems to be missing is creating linkages. How do we link farms to manufacturers or to link them to factories? How do we link farms to markets? These are things that we have not done. And I can also tell you that when you see an average senator, we have a senator within the North Central Nigeria that display a lot of vehicles which are part of his achievement. And, well, I don't know, but, you know, people voted him. He's not currently in Senate. But you see, two of his vehicles is good enough to establish 100 tons rice production on daily basis. What does that mean? At least 5,000 farmers from his state would have been employed. Apart from that, 200 people, human beings, would have worked in his factory. And he's not going to lose his money. In 2 years, he would have realized the money he invested in farming. So while we have many people farming in Taraba, in Benue, in Nasarawa, and more importantly in Kebbi, they are farming rice in Kogi. You know, so when you keep farming and there are no factory to process them, and there are also no silos to keep this rice paddy, you're going to have this. So this is one area I think government should look at. Apart from that, school uniform. Who are the people clothing our children in schools? We still buy most of our school uniform from India, from China, from London. So we come to Nigeria and create, we have a lot of tailors who are sewing, fashion designers, we call it. They sew the clothes. But where are the jobs? Is it the fashion designer that can just get the jobs, or the fabric makers? I think the fabric makers are those that can produce more. And where do we get most of the cotton out with Castina? So we see our farmers who are farming cotton materials in Castina. But do we have sufficient textile sector that can convert what is output in Castina in Kaduna? And I tell you, in 1958, before independence, Kaduna was that production hub, that empire of textile, not just for Nigeria, but for the entire West Africa. That template was replicated in Lagos immediately after independence, and Nigeria expanded in terms of manufacturing. That is where the former APC chairman, Adams Oshiomhole, was one of the major operator in that sector, who later became governor. These were productive days. Nigeria needs to get back to those days where we had production not just on farms, which nothing is wrong with, but also conversion, because wealth is in conversion. Nigeria has crude oil, just as we have farm, but refineries are dysfunctional, just the way our textile sector is dysfunctional. So the real jobs are conversion, manufacturing, and I hope, when you look at the two countries, China is the largest in Asia. The largest country in Asia is not just doing farming, it's also converting raw material into finished product. America, the largest country in the whole of Americans, either North or South Americas, but to narrow it down, we talk about North America, is the largest economy, largest country. Come to Africa, Nigeria is the largest country in Africa, in the entire Africa continent. But what do they have? They've been able to convert the economy from primary to secondary. There was a time where they were at this phase that we had, had this phase that we had, but they were able to solve the problems. We also need to consciously solve our problem for being a primary economy to an economy that is secondary, an economy that can transform what we have produced on our farms, what we have produced at the rig in form of crude oil, to what we can use directly without necessarily exporting them before re-importing them. And I think government support should be much more focused around conversion, because it has a lot of benefit, apart from farmers expanding because they are now guaranteed of demand, they are guaranteed of market. Another thing that happens is jobs. Jobs which government have been saying they want to create becomes a reality. In fact, we could say we'll be proud of creating not less than 5 million jobs a year. But more importantly, President Buhari's dream of creating 10 million jobs per annum, that is 100 million, I beg your pardon, taking 10 million people out of poverty every year, and 100 million people out of poverty in 10 years, whether it's administration or the administration that comes after him, is not just going to come by supporting farmers alone or by Nigeria exporting more in crude oil. It's going to come when we are able to change the direction of our economy from primary to secondary, from farming to conversion, by helping critical sector manufacturers and also having a functional refinery, either public or private, but more importantly, private sector-driven economy.
That's Paul Alaje there. It's senior economist with SPM Professionals. Let's move on. Shares surge, oil prices jumped, and the US dollar remained weak today as expectations of fewer regulatory reforms and more monetary stimulus under US President-elect Joe Biden supported risk appetite. Democratic candidate's election victory was already largely priced in by markets, which had been trading with the view of a Biden presidency and a Republican-controlled US Senate since last week. E-money futures for the S&P 500 jumped more than 1.5% today, while Nasdaq futures rallied over 2%, signaling a positive start for U.S. markets. Eurostock 50 futures gained 1.7%. Germany's DAX futures climbed 1.8%. FTSE futures rose 1.4%. The mood was also upbeat in Asia, with all major indexes in green. MSCI's broadest index of Asia and Pacific shares outside of Japan jumped 1.4% to 614.73 points, the highest since January 2018. It climbed 6.2% last week to clock its best weekly performance since early June. Chinese shares started higher, with the blue chip CS1300 index up 2.2% on top of better Sino-US trade relations under Biden. Japan rose 2.4%, while the main indexes of Australia, Hong Kong, and South Korea gained 1.5% each. The dollar has weakened in recent days by growth proxies, such as the Australian dollar have rallied with the Biden presidency, so less likely to be confrontational on trade. Investors' focus will also be on sterling and euro this week, with Brexit trade negotiations coming to an end to a head with the EU summit on November 15. This last week was traumatic enough for global markets and globe, particularly those of the emerging variety. Concerns about COVID-19 second wave, debt sustainability, political tension, and a possible bubble in tech shares made for uniquely volatile trade in global markets have rallied in response to Saturday's declaration that Joe Biden has won the U.S. election. The end of uncertainty about the race's outcome saw London FTSE 100 rise 1.5% to 5,944.58 points in early trade, with similar gains seen across Europe. Asian shares also jumped. Japan's Nikkei 225 climbing 2.1% to 4,839.84, its highest since 1991. There were similar gains in Australia, China, and Hong Kong, while oil and currency markets also climbed. Joining me live in the studio to give an in-depth analysis and, of course, an expert view into the outcome of the U.S. election and the performance of the global market is our regular and is a seasoned struggler, Mr. Rotimi Fakayejo. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Fakayejo. It's good to have you join us here this Monday. How did this come to you, Biden? People were not thinking about this. And what do you really see? And the markets are reacting positively. That is something that is also really, how does it come to you?
Oh, well, to me, I think it's most extreme for what I expected. First of all, the outcome of the election, and also the reactions that are trailing the outcome of the election. One question that quickly comes to me is, as Trump slowed down world economy, that everybody seems to be so positive about a change. And if that is correct, then we are yet to see, maybe in the next 18 months, to see whether there is going to be a positive change from what we have seen so far. But be that as it may, what the reactions, whenever stock markets go up, capital market operators are always happy because it means so much to them. And I think what is happening globally, with Nigeria inclusive, I think is a welcome development. Whichever way, we are not Americans, but what affects us is what affects us. So basically, we are happy about what is happening currently. And good enough, the market in Nigeria today trended above 3.3%.
Wow.
Which is quite a huge one.
Really huge.
And virtually all the sectors are positive.
Wow.
Just a few securities that are lagging behind for today. And I think maybe as we go into the week, we may see a much better performance. So for me, I think it's a good week. It's a good way to start the week and to move forward in the month of November.
We've seen issues also around China at a particular time. We know what's been happening with tariffs and all of this. Do you see anything really changing when it has to do with trade policies? I spoke to Paul Alaje about that, and I'm sure you heard his submission. What are you making of all of this, and how do you see it affecting the market in its entirety?
Well, one thing that is very key is that the relationship of Mr. Trump, President of the United States, with other nations was very caustic. And such relationship cannot enhance trade. It cannot enhance development. Because no country trades with itself. You trade with other countries. So if there is that interrelationship was very much lacking, and to a great extent, it has really impacted negatively all over. So, but for me, if one will look at it critically, Trump was fighting for America.
Yeah.
And I believe America has been taken advantage of over the years. But it didn't go in the diplomatic way. His approach was very rational. And at the end of the day, it didn't spell out well for both countries, but it's his own country and the other countries. So, but going forward, with what we have seen so far, I don't really see much of a change in what is going to happen. Though Mr. Joe Biden has said that he may sign some executive orders to reverse some of Mr. Trump's policies. But I think for America, it's unlikely because there is always continuity from government to government. So it's not about the individual. So it's going to be very difficult for him to be able to achieve that. And if at all an attempt is made for such, it may turn out being counterproductive because China will come all in to take advantage of America. And I think that will be a very dangerous one for anyone to even think about at all.
Seeing all markets, even the Chinese market or the Asian aspect of it, everyone is doing very, very well. What do you think will play out in the coming days? Would they remain this attractive? Would you see investors now maybe taking more risk at this time, or do you still see them sitting on the fence and still trying to see what will happen if Trump is going to go to court or whatever? Or do you see this reshaping the market in any other way?
One thing that we need to bear in mind is that America plays a very pivotal role in world affairs, politically, economically. And as such, for that particular role that they play, everything revolves around them. And that is why when there is any policy shake-up in America, it affects the entire world. So, but for the way it is right now, that uncertainty is still very much there. Not that they will reverse the outcome of the election, but it also boils down on the integrity of America, how people will perceive America going forward. So I believe that the bullish trend will still go ahead, at least for some days in the week. It may not be as vigorous as we are seeing right now, but I don't see the bullish trend receding for now. Even
our markets, like you said, doing so extremely well despite all of this. We saw something about weakening dollar, but I don't think that's happening affecting our own currency. Do you see anything happening with regards to the greenback and the naira? Do you see any change? You know, we've had issues with forex and we've been grappling with it. Central bank defending the naira, but all the same, we still come back, and as of today, I'm sure it's still more than 400 naira at the parallel market, and the interbank should be, I think, about 300 and something naira. This disparity, do you see this move addressing any of it? Maybe confidence coming back to both markets?
Well, that's going to be difficult because the strength of our naira is based on our own productivity.
True.
So if there is nothing being done about our productive sector, or be more productive than we have been in the past, then definitely the naira will continue to struggle. So we may not really see much of a change, even if the dollar weakens further. It will only be for a fraction of that weakness that is going to reflect in the Nigerian naira. But otherwise, there won't be anything new in addition to that.
Well, you're a player in this market. Some are saying that we might even be in for another deregulation, as a devaluation, I beg your pardon. This is not oil and gas. You know that there might be another devaluation of the currency. That might be inevitable because many say that the naira is not rightly priced.
Well, I think that's, the answer to that is not far-fetched. Because when you look at the 2020 budget,
yes,
the deficit was so large.
Too large.
And it was supported with borrowing. Now there is a projection that for 2021 budgets, Nigeria is already looking towards unusual people, that is Brazil, for a start, to borrow more funds. So that means 2021 budget is also predicated on borrowing. Now, when borrowing joins borrowing, we may not be able to cope with that debt trap with time to come. So I don't really see much of any change, except we begin to look inward. How can we move forward without borrowing further? And I don't see anybody thinking in that direction. Because if we don't build up our productive base, we are still just as Mr. Alaje said, if all we depend on are primary products for exports, then we are still very much in for a long run.
A real long run. Mr. Fakaijo, we know what's happening now. Nigeria is grappling with inflation, unemployment, underemployment, a lot of issues around that. And that's not even far-fetched what's also happening in the United States at the moment. COVID-19 has come, and the negative effects on the economy I've seen. I think the unemployment rate is so high, it's never been this bad. But Joe Biden might have a lot to do, a lot on his hand. It will have a lot. I think it's going to be addressing today, speaking on the plans for COVID-19 and all of that. What do you think needs to be the very first steps with regards to economic growth? We all look up to America. So when it's like this at this time, it tends to be worrisome.
Well, I think Mr. Joe Biden will be inheriting a very weak economy. And
battered one.
is with the COVID-19 in place, which no one has been able to do anything about, then definitely he's going to be in for a lot of issues that may keep him sweating all the way. But be that as it may, I believe strongly that there are always ways out to be able to get out of any situation. But it may not be a fast one. So I will have advised that it doesn't rush anything. It takes time with his team to actually look at what to do. Then, painstakingly, gradually, begin to implement those policies. But for him to throw all Trump's policy into the trash is not going to work.
There's always that continuity. There should always be that continuity plan one way or the other. At least there should be some policies that you should be able to build up on, consolidate on. There's also Brexit on one side too.
Yeah.
You understand all of these global issues. How do you see these global issues dictating our own drive, even here in Nigeria? Because there are a lot of things we don't control. Crude oil price and all of that. And our budget is predicated on some of these figures. How do you see all of these global issues affecting also Nigeria as we also move on? There might also be a second wave. We had 255 new cases. Are we?
Yeah.
About 300, I think. 255 was from, almost Lagos had the highest again.
Yeah.
So it's looking like a second wave.
Well, all over the world is the second wave.
Yes.
I think they have increased the testing
Okay.
in Lagos and in other places. So that is why we are having more
those figures.
But I think all in all, if as at this time, if the total number that Nigeria has tested is still less than 700,000, then I don't think we have done anything at all. Whereas we have countries doing 2 million, 5 million per day tests. So I think talking about second wave, I think it's to be over-exaggerated for Nigeria. And if government is going to look at that to do another lockdown, I don't think it's called for at all. So for me, I think what we need to do moving forward is that we must see how we can grow our economy, reduce our imports, and do everything to increase exports vis-a-vis secondary products rather than just crude oil. In time past, we were very good in commodity exports, cocoa, granules, rubber, and the likes. But we fell off. So we can begin to address those things. But one thing we can do quickly is to reduce our imports.
When we reduce our imports, this question has come on many occasions. Are we really self-sufficient at this time? We ban importation of rice. We're yet to build capacity in rice production. Sometimes so many products like that are being banned and we are not yet, we don't have enough. We have approximately 200 million people according to the figures that we have.
Okay.
Don't you think we need to build capacity before we outrightly ban or stop the importation of some particular products that we actually consume in this part of the world? I'm just being a Nigerian here and I need to understand clearly.
We need to be very systematic about it. And if you look at in time past, I keep remembering this all the time. When I was serving in Onitsha, there was nothing like imported rice in the market. Anybody that was to eat imported rice then, we bring it all the way from Lagos in his own car, not even for sale. That means as at that time, we say there was self-sufficiency in rice production for local consumption. And when you look at those years to now, what has gone wrong? How about our processes? How about storage? How about preservation? Those things, government took their hands off them. We used to have a lot of research institutes. All of them are overgrown with weeds. So until we go back to all of this, then something good and really come out of this economy. I believe strongly in this economy if the right things are done.
Finally, let's round up on this note. The market is starting the week very, very good. The figures are beautiful. Globally, very good. Let's project as we move on into the week. What are you expecting? What sectors do you think? Where can we put our money this week?
Well, it's not far-fetched. We've always had about 3 viable sectors within the Nigerian equity markets. We have the banking, we have the industrial goods, and we have the consumer goods. The insurance may be a no-go area for now. So, for those 3 sectors, except for the laggards like Cadbury, PZ, you may not touch that in the consumer goods. But for the other equities in that sector, I think they're good to go. Then when you come to banking, they posted 6 months robust results. The few ones that have posted their 9-month result has been good. We are expecting better results for those ones who have not yet posted. And also for the industrial goods, everything is looking great. So I believe if you're going to make a choice, let it be industrial goods or banking sector stocks.
Wow.
And there won't be a mistake.
There won't be any mistake there. Mr. Rotimi Fakayejo, I must thank you very much, and we value your contributions on this show. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
All right, let's take a break. And when we return, we'll still be the figures. The discussion continues. Stay with us, Nigeria.
At TVC News, wherever big news stories happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Voted as the best TV station of the year. TVC News breaks into the core of every event as they happen. Following all nationwide big and impactful stories. What are the news from every perspective? Covering every human angle. I am Veronica, bringing you the news you would want to watch.
Here are 7 steps to preventing the coronavirus.
Wash your hands thoroughly and frequently with running water and soap for at least 30 seconds. Avoid contact with people's hands and hard surfaces.
Number 3, always sneeze into a piece of tissue and cover your cough with your elbow, like this.
Step 4, avoid crowded spaces.
Step 5, stay at home if you feel unwell, even with a slight fever and cough.
Step 6, if you have a fever, cough, or difficulty breathing, seek medical help early.
And while we maintain social distancing, step 7 and the final step is stay tuned to this channel to receive more updates on the coronavirus.
There is always more to a story than the screaming headline. The part of a story that is not told casts a shadow. It's like the part of an object that is not reached by light. On TVC News, I'm able to explore the many angles there are to a story, talking to stakeholders, asking the difficult questions, and digging for facts. I believe the viewers are able to make a better decision if they're well informed and understand not just a part, but the complete story. TVC News, first with breaking news.
All right, there. Thank you very much. Let's talk through highlights of today's trading. The Nigerian Stock Exchange, the whole share index is up. Yes, up 3.96%. Top gainers for today were Delta Cement, MTN Nigeria, WAPCO, Boa Cement, Guarantee Trust Bank. Top losers, Oil, NCR, PZ, Learn Africa, Afriport. My colleague is in the house. F Young, it's a good way to start Monday. 3.96%. Don't tell me the market is also reacting to the elections in the United States. I don't understand this.
Tolu, I think that's the best way to say it, that the Nigerian market is joining global market to welcome Mr. Joe Biden to the White House in the next 2 months.
Wow.
Back home, we've seen the Nigerian market giving this character that is a real surprise. And don't forget, I had said since 2 weeks ago that it seems to me that till the end of this year, the market will still be reaching for the rooftop. Last week, for just one day, we were down and we saw the market come back flat on Wednesday. After that, Thursday, Friday, it geared up again. See the performance today, nearly 4%. And you have the biggest of them all in the sector. Dangote Cement doing so very well on the floor. Boa Cement also, the two of them struggling very well to lead the sector.
There's a lot of construction going on around.
Even MTN too played. So imagine MTN, WAPCO, Boa, all of them showing their strength on the floor.
Yeah.
So definitely, even from mid-trade, I saw the as at mid-trade, the index was more than 3%. I say, wow. So look at it now. It's so good for those who took risk to stay in the market. Indeed, they will say that the market is doing them good.
Yes, so what's on the flip side? The commodities angle is somewhere we should also look at, particularly now that a lot of international issues are on.
Exactly. Good developments around the commodities markets as we look at the FX exchange. We see cocoa price has gone up again over 3%. Last time when I reported, I said cocoa price was about 1,108,000 naira per ton. Now it has increased to 1,116,000 per ton. That's good for farmers. Then coming to maize, we see that the price of maize has come down to 134,000 per ton. Maize, you know, is very important for those in the beer industry and those also producing feeds for poultry. But some other thing that I have to add on maize is that scientists at one of our universities, that's Ahmadu Bello University, they are working together with the African Agricultural Technical Foundation. They have been able to bring out a variety of hybrid maize that will bring good yield to farmers. Indeed, from their projection, an acre of maize farm will be able to bring close to 7 tons of maize. Can you beat that? So they're projecting that they will perfect everything and make that available to farmers from 2022. So we tell our farmers good things are coming their way. Lastly, I want to conclude by saying that the price of ginger is really going up in the market. You know that particular commodity is of great importance, especially in the medical
Indeed,
sense.
health issues. Effiong Gekop, it's always nice having you on the show. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
All right, let's take more stories before we round up the show. France's economic activities is lower than normal this month after the country entered the coronavirus lockdown for the second time this year. That's the latest from the central bank. The government imposed a new lockdown to 30 to rein on the surge in new cases, although the restriction was softer than the first time to limit the impact of Eurozone's second biggest economy. The Bank of France says economic activities are expected to reduce by 12% of normal levels as a result, worse than a 4% drop in October, but far better than the 31% loss seen in April during one of the strictest lockdowns in Europe. Services requiring direct contact with customers were expecting the highest hit, with activities seen down 40% in the wholesale, retail, transport, hotel, and restaurant industries. Meanwhile, businesses in manufacturing expected to operate at a loss of only 7% of their normal activities in construction. Oil price on international market gained more than 2% today, with Brent futures rising above $40 a barrel after Joe Biden clinched the U.S. presidency and buoyed risk appetite, offsetting worries about the impact on demand from a worsening coronavirus pandemic. Brent sells for $40.36, recording an uptick of 2.31%. For the OPEC basket, crude oil dealers offer $39.79, recording an increase in price of 1.79%. And that's our show. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow, same time. Up next is the news. Stay with TVC News.
At TVC News, where big news stories happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Do you want to win? Take your smartphone, place a bet on 1xBet. It's very simple. Just one click, and then watch your bet win and enjoy every victory. 1xBet. Virtual games, real wins.
Voted as the best TV station of the year. TVC News breaks into the core of every event as they happen. Following all nationwide big and impactful stories. We tell the news from every perspective, covering every human angle. I am Veronica, bringing you the news you would want to watch.
Here are 7 steps to preventing